Well, this meeting was billed as a collaboration meeting between SAF, Colorado State Forest Service, and Tree Farm. So I'm going to talk about collaboration, what we've been doing, what we can do in the future, and this fits in pretty good with what Mike Burns was talking about before. So first of all, as you all know, we've been plagued by numerous forest health problems in Colorado, but they all boil down to mostly insect infestation and wildfire. It's just been very, very rough on a lot of landowners, and we can blame a lot of it on climate change, but we can also blame a lot of it on inactivity by forest landowners. And so what we want to do, what we've been trying to do, at least in the tree farm end of it, is to inspire more forest landowners to get out there and actively manage their properties. Part of the problem is when you start talking about actively managing forests, as Mike Burns has mentioned, we're going to turn off a whole bunch of people. They're just not going to listen to us. Somebody was talking about getting their tree farm chime shot up. That sort of thing is very likely. And part of the difficulty with that is we need to find better ways to change people's behaviors and attitudes, because there's so many of them that are having trouble understanding why we need to have forest management. So what we're going to talk about is some of the things that Mike Burns mentioned, and that is let's see, social marketing techniques. We've got a lot of problems with social marketing, with changing people's attitudes. It's not easy to do. And what we're trying to do, what many of our organizations are trying to do with their outreach and education efforts, is actually market something different. And in our case, it's a social marketing. We're trying to change people's attitudes and behaviors. And of course, as has been mentioned here a couple of times now, when we're trying to do that, we're not well equipped to do that, most of us. Most of us have not, don't have marketing degrees. We don't have sociology degrees. We either have forestry degrees, or in the case of landowners, we could have anything. I have a law degree, but that doesn't mean I can talk to people about changing attitudes. So we have to start thinking out of the box a little bit. And one of the guys that came up and started thinking out of the box was the guy that Mike Burns mentioned again, Brett Butler. Brett Butler works for the U.S. Forest Service for 10 years now. He's been working on a survey of landowners, trying to find out why they do certain things the way they do. He's got a lot of information, and in the last few years he's decided he needs to do something with that information. He needs having information is not very productive if you don't use it. So he got together with some people from academia. He's got together with some business people, and they came up with the idea that if we can employ some social marketing techniques, we may be able to actually reach some of the people that we aren't reaching now and get them involved in doing more in their forests. So some of the techniques that he came up with that I thought were particularly interesting is, one is targeting specific audiences. There's so many different objectives that landowners have. Some of them want to work all day in town, in the city, come up, they don't want to do anything in their forest at all, or at least they don't want to cut trees because they don't want to see their neighbors. They moved up there so they wouldn't see their neighbors. And even if one partner does want to cut some trees, the other one doesn't, and they don't end up doing anything. So we need to target our audiences and come up with hot button items that reach particular people, and don't necessarily talk about dull topics like managing your forest. What forest? We don't have forests. We have trees. We have woods. We don't have forests. Managing is something that you do at work all day. You don't want to come home and do it at home. So we got to come up with different hot button items. Then we got to tailor our messages in those specific terms that we come up with, the hot button terms that will inspire the audiences to do something. It's not enough to give people information. You can give people information all day long. Lots of people love to come and sit and get information, and then they go home and they don't do anything with it. Well, that's useless. We're wasting our time if that's what we're trying to do. So we've got to get people to take action with the information we get them. We've got to be able to deliver these messages in venues that are most likely to reach the targeted audiences. And one of the things that I found when we have our special events is that it's not just one message. Mike mentioned again, I really appreciate Mike getting up there and giving me all this ahead of time. He mentioned before that he had that little bar chart there where television is obviously the best. Everybody watches television, but television ads are really expensive. And when you aren't making any money doing this, that's not very good. Newspapers, on the other hand, the ads can be expensive, but if you're dealing with local newspapers and you come up with an article that is going to benefit the community, then I have not paid for an article in years, or an advertisement. I get free articles because I write something up and I go and I talk to my publishers and I know who they are, and if I can convince them that it's worthwhile, they do a free article on it, and people much prefer to, they're much more likely to change their behavior from an article than they are from an advertisement. So getting the message out and delivering it through the right venue is very important. Next is follow up. If you've ever been in a marketing campaign, you can't send out one message and expect it to work. People don't even hear half the time the message is sent out. You have to send out repeated messages, and they can't be the same exact message over and over again. You see that on TV all the time, and what do? You forget who even put the ad out. You just don't listen to it anymore. You have to be creative when you send out your message. Send out something slightly different every time, but make it interesting all the time so that you can reach these people. And pretty soon, after numerous messages, some of them may actually start to take some action on something. And I know it's people don't like to hear that. We want to do something and get them the change right now, but obviously that's not working for many of the people that we're trying to reach. And we have to interactively engage and maintain their enthusiasm once we got their attention. And so those are some of the things that we've been trying to work on over the last few years. And we're trying to do this in collaboration with other groups, simply because we found in tree farming for years we've tried to do things on our own, and we'll get 20 people showing up. We try to do things in collaboration with other groups that are interested in the same hot button items that we're trying to promote, and all of a sudden they're helping to promote the event that we might be pushing or something like that. They're sending out ads to other people that we don't even know, and the next thing you know, instead of 20 people, we get 100 people, 120 people showing up at an event, and we get their attention. So we have to we're trying to implement some of these social marketing techniques. Whoop, I think I went too far. What's the backup plan here? Should be backspace. Backspace? There we go. I've got a three-pronged plan that we've been working on for the last 3 years here, using those social marketing techniques. The first thing is coming up with a special event, something that may have nothing directly to do with forest management, although that's our main goal. We're trying to improve forest health through forest management. But we're trying to reach these people that we haven't reached before. So we come up with special events. A couple of years ago, we came up with a beetle buster event. People who would never talk to you about cutting a tree, all of a sudden see their favorite tree right outside their window is dying because of pine beetle, and then they look around and all the other trees are dying too. And then they're interested in listening to what you have to say. So we had a special event for beetle busters. We came and showed people exactly the life cycle of the beetle, what it was doing, how to identify infested trees. We got the Colorado State Forest Service to partner with us on that. We got the Colorado Forestry Association to come up and partner with us on that, and a couple other organizations. And we ended up with well over 100 people showing up just to find out about the pine beetle. Once they showed up, we asked for email addresses. We didn't care if they gave us regular addresses or phone numbers or anything else, but we asked for email addresses, and most of them were happy to give us their email address. And what we did with that is we kept that email address, and I'll show you in the next slide exactly what we did with it. The next time we had another one just a few months later, and that was called the Let's Get Growing campaign. And there we had a big fire called the Crystal Fire here a few years ago. And the Crystal Fire was pretty devastating in our area, although it didn't last very long and it wasn't very big. Winds picked up in the middle on Saturday night and blew 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And in one evening, 13 homes were burnt. A lot of people just got out in the nick of time with their lives, and one of the people whose homes were burnt came to me and said, you know, the community has just been wonderful to me. I'd like to give back something, and I'd like to start the new forest, but I think we ought to start it with kids, and because they're the ones that are going to be able to grow up with it. And so we said, that's a great idea. We went around. Again, we collaborated with different groups. We got our old stand by the Colorado State Forest Service. We got our SAF people here. Chris and Jamie were involved in it. We got Parks and Wildlife to show up. We got the local fire department to show up. And what we did is we came up with a oh yeah, I won't forget him. He showed up. I don't know how much we could count on him to actually make a presentation, but he did show up. He got dirty. So at any rate, we got all these groups together, and we set up a little map. This was for kids now. This wasn't based for adults. We weren't talking about forest management or anything. We were talking about starting the new forest and letting the kids do it. And some of you may have heard of Dr. Seuss's Lorax, and there was a movie out on that, and the kids just loved that sort of stuff. So we had little cartoon characters, and we set up stations all around a large field, and we had a map. And if the kids went through and they stopped and got educated at each one of the stations, and they learned about wildlife in a wildfire situation, and they planted trees with Mike and Jamie and Chris, and went through the other things and got their map signed off on. They got a free seedling to take home and plant in their house. And of course, when the kids showed up to do all this, they brought their parents along, and they brought their grandparents along, and we got more email addresses. And then just last month, we had the Be Prepared event. The Be Prepared event was right up in the High Park burn area where I live, and in that area we got people together to talk about being prepared for the next disaster. Well, I can tell you right off the bat that even though we just had a fire there last year, and a lot of people thought it was the 100-year event, and that they could take a break now and they didn't have to worry about it very much, when we started talking about the next disaster, everybody was interested in what to do. And we had a local tree farmer who had written a book on surviving wildfire, and which I've brought up with AFF. I think they're going to use that book somewhere along the line. We had another local landowner who got involved with the General Assembly and got hold of John Kafalis, one of our representatives, and they pushed through a Insurance Reform Act. And we got 3 or 4 other people, a couple of firefighters who had lost their homes while they were protecting other homes, and we had these people come up and talk to you about what it's like to lose your home. Whether or not you have insurance or anything else, the consensus was you do not want to lose your home. Some of these people have been fighting for a year now with the insurance company and still aren't able to rebuild because of all these problems that they're having. And we went through what you could do to prepare yourself for the next disaster before, during, and after the disaster. Got 125 people showing up at that event just last month and got even more email addresses. So what do we do with the email addresses? We have a email newsletter that goes out whenever I get enough good information to put in it. And it's not on any specific timeline, but we send out maybe 2 or 3 or 4 articles at a time. And in that email newsletter, we took all these email addresses that we had, and we automatically signed up everybody for the email newsletter, and we have a little disclaimer down at the bottom saying, if you don't want to receive this anymore, please tell me. No one is come back and asked us to get signed off that newsletter. No, I take that back. 2 people have come back, and that's because they moved out of the state. But no one else has come back to ask to be signed off that newsletter. We now have over 800 people on that newsletter. And some of them are tree farmers. A lot of them are landowners that we never would have reached any other way. And now they're getting constant messages from us. Some of them are very creative. In fact, some of you guys have sent me articles to put in the tree farm thing. In fact, all of the articles that we have in there are from readers and people who we had one from a botany professor at the University of Wyoming that just sent me an article on golden corydalis. Golden corydalis is a plant that in severe burn areas is the first plant to start blooming again. And it lasts for 2 years and it goes away unless there's another severe fire. And most people have never seen it before. And all of a sudden it's popping up all over the place, and this professor writes about it. We write a little article on it. Got all sorts of information back on that. We just had an article on Governor Hickenlooper's task force on insurance and wildfire, and what that's liable to do to private landowners. Lots of different articles. All of them will eventually come back to the fact that if you actively manage your forest properly, you can increase the odds that your home will survive a wildfire. You can increase the odds that your trees will survive a pine beetle attack or whatever kind of attack you have, insect attack. And we've actually had people reading that newsletter, which has been out for a number of years now, and come in and ask, how do I sign up to be a tree farmer? Well, we ask them to come to local group meetings. We have local group meetings around the state. The most effective one is right here, run by our own Mike Hughes. There's too many mics in this room.
Never can be too many.
And I'll tell you, this room is normally packed full when we have a tree farm meeting. We'll have 40 to 50 people here every time. And Dick Shetler's shaking his head over there. Everybody is. We normally pack this room. And what we do there is we ask for collaboration again. We just had collaboration in the special events where people help us put them together. We had collaboration in the tree farm newsletter because we've got people like all you professional foresters sending me articles that I just pass right on to other people. And we have collaboration in the local events because we very seldom have a meeting that we don't have a professional of some sort come and talk to the group and educate them and try to keep them involved in what we're doing and increase their enthusiasm, let them share their experiences so they'll want to go back and do more. It's particularly hard work here in Colorado because we don't make any money at doing this. We don't have a timber sale. We were smiling back and forth when my friends brought up the fact that you could make money with a timber sale. We haven't been able to do that much around here. But the thing is, we really need to get more people involved in actively managing their forests. So we have to be a little bit more creative in how we do that. And that's one of That's one of the ways we're doing it. So we're talking about collaboration, and those are some of the ways that we're collaborating, but we're still only reaching a small number of forest landowners, and part of the problem is that we just aren't doing enough. These things are working better than what we had before, but we could get a lot more creative if we had a lot more minds working on it. So what we're trying to do is get more people involved in using some of these social marketing techniques, and who better than people who are already passionate and enthusiastic about forestry, SAF members. If you guys can think of different ways that we can reach people, and we're thinking out of the box here now. We're not thinking about reaching them to talk about forestry, forest management. We're talking about whatever connects with them, so that we can get that email address and then start sending them the message over and over and over again. And so we're trying to get more people involved in doing that sort of stuff. We want to produce a more effective campaign by working together and getting other people involved in doing what we're doing. And it's kind of interesting. I went through the websites of the three organizations that we got here tonight and looked at the mission statements. And although the words are different, they pretty much all come down to we're trying to improve forest health by getting more people involved in doing the right thing. And that's what we're trying to do here. We need to work together to make that sort of thing happen. And I think we can do that if we get enough people interested in doing it. So every good marketing campaign that I've read about, and actually I've been involved in a couple, ends a talk with a call to action. We need something for people to do. We don't want you leaving here saying, oh, that was a great talk. Now I can go on to other priorities and not worry about it again. So the call to action here tonight is we're trying to get more people engaged. So on our Tree Farmer Alerts newsletter, we have, well, I'm older than some of you, so I know about stringers. Maybe some of you know about stringers too. In World War II, the big newspapers had private journalists that would write articles and send them in to the newspapers, and they called those journalists stringers. And they would just write an article and send it in and hope it would get published. Well, that's what I'm asking you guys to do, is to be stringers. Come up with an article. If you can write it yourself, great. I've got a professor down in physics professor down at University of New Mexico who's writing an article on local climate change right now. If you can do that, great. But all of you read. All of you can come up with interesting articles. If you find one, please send it to us. If you were the first one to send it, I'll certainly give you credit. If you were the last one to send it, I'll ask you to send another one. But please see if you can do that. It only takes a few minutes of your time. You're reading these articles anyway, and you might as well share them if you found a good one. Don't just put it away. So that's the call to action tonight. And otherwise, think. If there's something you can come up with that might reach people, think out of the box. I know some of you are really creative people, and these special events things, they can be about anything. You just saw the three things that we've done in the last couple of years. They can be about just about anything, and the idea is if we can turn them around and make people interested in forest management because of that, it's going to help us all. I wish I could come up with a silver bullet and say, boy, if you do this, next year we're going to have, what was the mistake you made? 70% of the people familiar with all that stuff and interested in it. It's not going to happen. But if we can go from 8% that are interested to 10% that are interested, it's still pretty successful, and we're doing some good. So that's it. Collaborate. Please help collaborate and come up with your own ideas. If you got an event or a plan, call us. We can get a whole bunch of tree farmers to help you do what you want to do too. But if not, I'm going to keep coming up with ideas. So thank you very much.